couple of girls talk about this and that, get familiar with blue and the charmed ones too. Charm Chats.
Hello, and welcome to Charm Chats with Kendra
And Kat. We are at episode 215.
Yeah.
So excited. So excited.
Really? Why are you excited?
Because we're getting to the end of the season.
That is exciting.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Very excited about this. So before we start, quick disclaimers. There might be dogs barking and kids screaming outside, and because it's a lovely day out.
Yes,
and
indeed.
We cannot
and the neighbors' grandchildren love their inflatable pool.
Yeah.
And I checked, and it is inflated, so they're probably going to be swimming in it.
Yep.
But at least it's on weed whacking.
Yes, that is a plus. But we have the air conditioning off because we don't need it.
Yep.
So it's lovely. And there's some screaming. I don't think it'll actually be picked up.
Yeah, I know. It's so... I mean, it's high-pitched, but it's also far away.
Yeah. But,
relatively.
Just in case. Let's just get right into it, because I'll be tangenting right off the bat. So the episode is entitled Give Me a Sign, and it aired February 24th, 2000.
Hit me, baby, one more time?
I believe that was after this, but I'm not sure. I honestly didn't think to look it up because I've been sick.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Britney Spears, everybody.
Yeah. I will not be linking to her.
Well, I doubt, yeah. I mean, if it happened after, it wouldn't be a reference. I just get that stuck in my head now.
Yes. Anyway, so we start with a couple of jail guards walking down a hall.
And immediately, I know they're not jail guards.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. We never get really names.
No.
And they don't get names on IMDb.
No, they are guard number 1 and guard number 2.
But one of them is so ridiculously recognizable for being villain in things.
Yeah.
That, we're gonna tell you who they are.
Yep. Because I recognized guard number 1 right away. His name is Jeff Mead, and he spells it with a G, because, his parents were pretentious. I don't know, maybe not, but whatever. He was born in 1965. He started acting in 1989 and hasn't done anything since 2015.
And I recognize him from definitely Buffy. I'm trying to remember which episode of Criminal Minds, and apparently he was also on Bones.
Yeah, those are the things I recognize him from. I don't remember what episodes, but I know that I recognized him.
Was, interestingly enough, he was in How to Kill a Guy on a First Date. If that was the episode. It was the same one. Remember, a couple episodes ago, Snake Dude was in.
Yes.
So they were in the same episode.
Interesting. Well, alrighty then.
Yeah, he played a vampire.
As they usually do.
The creepy religious vampire dude who was, quoting the apocalypse.
Yeah, I do vaguely
He was
remember that.
The red herring for that episode.
Well, there you go.
Spoiler alert, guys.
Spoiler alert for a different show. But yeah, there's not much else to really say about him, so we go on to guard number 2. He is played by Sal Rendino, and his birth name is long and Italian. It is Salvatore Carmelo Francesco di Assisi Rendino. Yeah. Long and Italian. He's been acting since 1992. He's still going strong. He has 9 things in post-production, 2 things in pre-production, and 3 things completed, all of which are supposedly coming out this year.
And he looks completely unrecognizable to me. In fact, I've already forgotten what he looks like.
Yeah. He's not really that memorable. And I watched it this morning. Yeah, he's not that memorable a face.
Like last week.
Yeah.
When I watched it that afternoon.
There you go. He's not that recognizable at all. But I do think it's interesting, neither of them have wiki pages.
That is odd. I figured the first guy would at least have something.
You'd think so, but no, neither of them. Anyway, so they come up to a jail cell, and we see Bane Jessup sitting on the floor in the cell, topless, with orange prison pants on. He is once again played by Antonio Sabato Jr. I will not tangent on him again, but you can listen to episode 209 to hear about him if you'd like. If you haven't, why haven't you? Just saying.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the guards tell him that they're taking him to a hearing, which he seems confused about because he doesn't recognize these guys at all. But he goes with them because he has, no real choice.
And they dangle some lovely dollar store handcuffs in front of their dollar store uniforms.
Yep.
Which have this weird, like, stitched-on applique star that says Sheriff's Department.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know those are fake, because they'd get badges.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude.
Yeah, they're very much costume shop guard uniforms.
Yep.
So then we cut over to the outside of the prison where we see Bane being led out, handcuffed in the front, which is also how you know he's not. These guys
Also,
are
they're
not
super
real.
unprofessional, because I thought the whole procedure was that they're supposed to stick their hands by the bars so you can handcuff them through there. Like,
there's a whole mess of stuff happening. But he is now wearing an orange prison shirt.
oh wait, no, they're supposed to stick it through the slot with where the food goes. Because otherwise you just get handcuffed to the bars. So that's stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, they handcuff you behind there, so you can't do shit.
Exactly.
Unless you've got super long arms and you can just, like, do that thing where you jump over them.
Yes, there are people that can do that. But yeah, so I do think it interesting, though, that they let him put his shirt on before they handcuffed him.
I mean, if they're taking him to a hearing, I think it would probably be in their best interest to have him be as clothed as possible.
Yes, but
to stop distracting whoever's at the hearing.
Well, there is that. But the point that the reason I bring that...
Boy's ripped.
He is. The reason I bring it up, though, is because they opened the cell door and dangled the handcuffs at him while he was still topless. And then we just cut to him having his top on and being handcuffed in front.
Because they're super fake unprofessional.
Yeah. It was weird. Anyway, so a different guard is bringing a prisoner into the jail, and he gets a line and an IMDb credit, so I'm going to tell you about him real quick. The actor is Anthony Holliday. He started acting in 1996, and he's still active, but he also has no wiki page, so I don't really know anything else about him. But he had an IMDb credit, so there you go. Back to the show. Bane questions his guards, saying, "Litvac sent you, didn't he?" And then he elbows our guard number 2 in the chest, and he falls backward towards a police van that is, like, a la convenience, very close to the door.
Yeah, it's a transport vehicle.
Yeah, but, like, it was super close to the door. Like,
yes.
It was, like, on the sidewalk.
And the passenger side door was wide open.
Yeah. So then guard number 1, the one we recognized from Criminal Minds and Bones and Buffy, pulls an object out of his back pocket and then shines like a blue laser light thing at Bane. But Bane steps out of the way, making the light hit the other guard, who then quickly disappears in a small sphere of fire.
Vaporized.
Yeah. So
Bane, I guess, knocks the first guard down, and the dude drops the laser. It rolls under a car,
which is a la convenience, also very close to the building. Different car,
but
other
at least
side.
It's not directly in front of the door. It's like off to the side, a little bit. But he then tries to like get on top of the guard, and it looks like he's about to strangle him. But the guard, of course, is super fucking strong, and he just kind of lifts Bane up and stands up and just holds him. And we get this lovely little shot of some slippered feet going back and forth.
Yeah,
real cute.
Like an inch or two off the ground. It's very funny.
Cute.
Yeah. And the guard winds up with like a nasty cut on his cheek.
Yeah, he throws Bane into the police van, and it's a very poorly edited sequence of shots.
Yeah, it is a little bit.
Because there's an obvious stunt double. The first, not the last of the episode.
Yep.
And he hits it, and then they switch to a closer shot of him just after he's hit it, and it's very clear he had zero momentum in this shot.
Yep.
And he doesn't even, like, fucking dent the van, which is just, like, courtesy to the viewer at this point.
Yeah, a little bit.
And then we cut back to the guard, and we see the cut on his cheek just, like, flash and vanish.
Yeah,
that's new.
It magically closes up and heals.
I feel like that's new.
Yeah, I don't think
that
we've
kind
seen
of
that.
shot or effect.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen that one before. But so as the guard goes to find his little laser thingy underneath the car, Bane then takes the opportunity to hop into the police van that, you know, had all the doors fucking open.
And apparently had keys in the ignition because he just hops in the passenger side door into the driver's seat and starts fucking driving.
Yeah, so the car not only had the doors open and unlocked, it had the keys in the car and the van was on. Like, running. because he didn't turn it on.
Took there? No, that would have been the car that the dude coming in had taken. Probably.
Yeah, probably.
And, that guy's getting fired.
Well, there is that. So, here's the funny thing, right? So, the guard on the ground, our fake guard on the ground, the only one left, quickly turns around and, like, runs after the van that Bane is now driving. He reaches for the door handle and manages to grab it and not fall off. But then as the van continues moving, he falls and somehow makes the door close.
And this sequence is where we get our second obvious stunt double of the episode.
Yep.
Because it is definitely a dude with a completely different face and haircut.
Mm-hmm.
Who is a different height and a different build from our guard.
Yeah.
Like, I cackled when I saw this.
Yeah, it was bad.
Uh-huh.
Like, normally they're pretty good about getting stunt doubles who at least are the same, like, body shape, body type.
Mm-hmm.
This one was bad.
So bad.
Yeah. So, Bane drives toward the gate.
Where there's another guard, and he's like, no, stop!
Yeah, he yells for it to stop. Of course, he doesn't.
No, Bane drives right fucking through, and we find out this gate is only shut by one of those, like, U-shaped latches.
Yeah, it was
That's
very
it.
funny.
It might be topped by barbed wire, but it's a fucking chain link.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a double-wide gate fence thing.
Yep.
Like, 6-8 feet tall or something.
Something like that, yeah.
And just pops fucking open. It doesn't even come off the hinges, like, the latch. You hear the latch open.
Yep.
And then you're just like, that thing was not locked.
Yeah, I know.
Not even a little.
Nope.
Oh, this is such a shitty prison. Everyone's getting fired.
Yeah. But the funniest part for me was watching our little guard who has his little yell out of no stop, diving to safety.
Yeah, yeah. His tone reminded me of, I think it's the second Austin Powers movie, where he's got the, you know, that thing you roll over the newly laid asphalt to compress it?
Mm-hmm.
The big rolly thing?
Yeah. A steamroller.
And a dude in the hall, the wide open fucking warehouse, he's just like, stop! And there's this fucking 5-minute sequence of him just, like, driving toward him at the slowest possible speed.
Yep.
So that's what that reminded me of.
Yeah, it was kind of funny, that.
Mm-hmm. Except this guy actually got out of the way.
He did. Though I've never understood how that actually works. Like, if you're in the middle of a car and you dive, that car's still going to run over your goddamn ankles. Like, there's
He must be a high jump champion.
Yeah, like, there's no real way...
No, that would be standing jump.
Well, like, there's no real way, if you are standing in the middle of a car, to jump to one side or the other and not have your ankles still in the way of the wheels. Just, unless you are, like, an amazing... gymnast.
If you're really good at popping the feet.
Maybe. But, yeah, I don't know. Whatever.
So,
our original fake guard dude runs back toward the cars to try and get the laser thing that fell underneath the car.
But another guard, like, comes out of the prison and says something.
Yeah.
And for some
what's going on? And
yeah, something generic.
Yeah.
And completely forgettable, which is why I don't remember it, even though I watched it, like, 3 hours ago. And dude just... ups and runs.
Yeah,
and we get a nice shot of the weapon lying underneath the car, and there's a bit of a zoom in.
Yeah, and I'm telling you...
because this is important.
And I'm telling you, this little weapon, it's a little silver thing. It looked like a silver dildo. It just...
a bit.
It looked like it was just a couple inches long, like maybe 4 or 5 inches long.
Yeah.
And it had a little, like, nub on the end.
Yeah, a little turn.
Yeah. Like, when we see it later, you can tell it looks more like a silver-plated flashlight.
Yeah.
Because there's a little clicky button on the side, and it's, but it, when I first saw it, I was like, that looks like a silver dildo.
It looked, to me, like if someone who was designing props for Lord of the Rings watched Star Trek and decided to make a phaser for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, maybe.
Because honestly, that's basically what it is. It just doesn't have a stun setting.
Yeah.
Also, it looks like some museum pieces I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of cool looking, but it was still just, it looked like a silver dildo. That was my very first, like, thought as soon as I saw it. I was like, that is a silver dildo with a flashlight attachment. Mm-hmm. Like, okay.
Yep.
Anyway, so then we cut to an exterior shot of the Halliwell Manor, and there are no flowers blooming outside, so everything just looks green.
Which means it's probably summer, because not spring? I don't know.
Yeah, well, we're still in February.
But it's San Francisco, so...
Right. You know, California is weird in its weather. Inside, we see Piper and Phoebe come walking into the kitchen from the back door.
And they are drenched in sweat.
Yeah.
Or rather, they've been generously spritzed right outside the set.
Yes. Piper is dressed in a black, white, and purple sports bra style tank top with purple sweats, and she's holding the morning newspaper. And her hair is pulled back into a lovely little messy braid.
Like a French braid that's slightly off-center.
Yeah. Phoebe is dressed in a yellow and black sports bra with low-cut blue yoga pants. Like, you can see her belly button. Mm-hmm. They're so low-cut. She's not wearing her belly button ring.
That's not necessarily low-cut. It's low-cut for the late 90s, early aughts.
Yes.
But, like, it just sits at her hips, whereas Piper sits at her waist.
Yeah. But she does not seem to be...
Low-cut would be, like, the early aughts Shakira pants.
Well, there is that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is that. But she does not seem to be having her belly button ring in at the moment.
Okay.
So, that's a thing. She has her hair pulled back into a ponytail and also has a blue headband with, like, little flowers on it, as well as wearing a small diamond necklace that vaguely looks like the necklace that Prue used to wear all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an interesting little thing I noticed.
Anyway, they're busying themselves getting orange juice, because apparently that's what they do after a run. Makes sense, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And Piper is yammering. Yes, yammering on about Leo and Dan.
Yep.
She's doing a verbal pro-con list.
Yep.
And Phoebe is clearly 1,000% done. And just as Phoebe finishes pouring the orange juice into the glasses that Piper has brought her, she clocks out a time and she says something like just under 30 minutes.
Yeah, it was like 28 minutes 30 seconds or something like that. Like it was...
And Piper's like, "Oh, is that how long we're running?" And Phoebe's like, "No, that's how long you've been comparing Leo and Dan."
Yeah, it was kind of funny. Phoebe, of course, ever the younger sister, tries to explain that she knows what's going on with Piper, in that she has two guys who both love her, but she wonders why Piper won't let her help.
And Piper's like, "What? You want to take one of them off my hands?"
Yeah. And
because that ain't happening.
Yeah, Phoebe kind of looks for a moment, like, contemplative, like, would she let me do that? It was kind of funny.
Yeah. It's like a brief second. Would she? She probably wouldn't. Nah.
No, she wouldn't. Phoebe, of course, thinks that Piper just needs a sign in the form of a spell.
And Piper, like the rest of us watching this episode, goes, "Excuse me, personal gain much?"
Yeah.
Which, hey, I mean... First time that's happened in a while where one of them calls out a personal gain, I feel like. Because normally it's us complaining, like, how is this not?
Yeah. And most of the time lately it's been Prue that has been doing a lot of the spell use for personal gain without want for consequences. And without getting consequences. That's the other thing that annoys me. Is like they harp on this, you know, oh no, personal gain. But then she does something and there's no consequence. It's like, so what is even the point?
Well, I mean, isn't that just so typical of the oldest sibling? They get away with fucking everything.
Apparently so.
Wait, no, it's usually the other way around. Usually the youngest gets away with everything.
It depends on the family.
This is true. I got away with fucking nothing.
Yeah.
And I didn't even do anything.
Well.
The worst thing I did was get back the plug for the TV so I could watch Charmed.
Yeah. Anyway,
Phoebe assures Piper that she can somehow write a personal gain-free spell.
Yeah, I'm still not exactly sure how that works, but you know,
honestly,
whatever.
I mean, the fact that Phoebe would be saying it for Piper would kind of be not really all that personal gain. Except that she just wants Piper to, like, her intent is to have Piper shut up about Leo and Dan.
Yeah.
But as long as the spell's not specifically about that, she should be fine.
Maybe. We'll see. Piper, of course, says, you know, she can't expect magic to solve all of her personal problems. And Phoebe tries to convince her continually as they walk into the dining room.
And once they arrive in the dining room, they are mysteriously dry.
Yeah.
Zero sweat.
Yeah. Apparently the orange juice has completely cleared them of all sweat.
Well, it might not be the orange juice. It might just be that brisk walk from the kitchen that dried them off.
There you go.
They were so hot they evaporated in 10 seconds.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah.
But anyway.
We see Prue in the Wicker Room. She is wearing jeans that are bedazzled with hearts.
And, like, down the sides of her legs, and each one of them is a different color.
Yeah, it was very, very aughts.
Yes, very.
And like, I remember bedazzling. Mm-hmm. It was a thing. Wow.
Yeah.
And she's also got on a fuzzy pink sweater over a white t-shirt, and she's holding some camera equipment.
Yeah, and both the sweater and the shirt are V-neck, but like the shirt is just a slightly higher V-neck than the sweater, so you can see it. And it turns out to be a sleeveless shirt.
Yeah.
We see later.
And I also thought it was interesting that the V-neck, like the trim on the white shirt, is slightly silky looking.
Yeah.
It was kind of interesting.
Kind of. Also, it was a weird placement on her chest.
Yeah, a little bit. But, so, they join her in the Wicker Room, and we learn that Prue has bought a ton of digital camera equipment because she's thinking of becoming a professional photographer.
And she quite astutely recognizes that since so much of photography has become digital, you need a lot of shit.
Yeah. So one of the cameras that she picks up is a Nikon, and it's actually a really nice camera. Now, I'm not going to tangent much, I promise. But Nikon is a Japanese company. It was founded as Japan Optical Industries Corporation in Tokyo in 1917.
Wowza.
Yeah. It celebrated its 100th year in business on July 25th of this year. They changed the company name to Nikon Corporation in 1988 after the Nikon cameras because those were their best-selling product.
Understandably so.
Yeah. They've done a lot of stuff over the years, including making lenses and stuff for the Japanese military during World War II, and they created some of the first digital SLRs for NASA that have been used in the space shuttle since 1991.
Tell me, Kat, what does SLR stand for?
Single lens reflex. It has to do with the way the camera works.
I figured.
Yeah. And a DSLR, which is the kind of camera that Prue has, is digital single lens reflex. So there you go.
Okay.
I had to totally look it up because I didn't know. So I'll link to that, of course. I did think it was interesting, though, that as of 2013, Nikon is the official camera of Walt Disney World Resort and Disneyland Resort.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm not going to tangent on those, but I'll link to their wiki pages because, why wouldn't I? Anyway, so
Phoebe tries and fails to subtly mention that money in photography is pretty fucking rare. And then Piper, pinches her ass or something?
Yeah, she, pinched her arm, I think.
Oh, okay.
But it was,
I didn't see where her hand went. I assumed butt, because that's fun.
No. This is sisters, not...
They've slapped each other on the ass.
Yeah, well.
They're sisters.
Yeah.
Personal space? No. Personal gain? Definitely.
Prue says that she's been wrestling with the idea of being a photographer ever since she quit her job.
And Piper gives us a little exposition that apparently Prue's wanted to win a Pulitzer since college.
Yeah.
And she only took the job at the museum and then subsequently Buckland's because it paid better and they could keep the house.
Yeah.
Although, I'm pretty sure she got the museum job well before Grams died.
Yeah, I don't know.
It might be mentioned later, I forget.
I don't know. What I did think was interesting is the fact that this house has been in their family for generations and it's still not paid off. That's where I'm questioning.
I think it might be the property taxes.
That could be.
Because San Francisco.
Yeah, that could be. I forget the property tax is a thing.
Yes, because you don't pay it.
Yeah, because I have lived in apartments my entire life.
Uh-huh.
I have never had a house. So, in case you don't know, the Pulitzer Prize is an award for achievements in newspaper, magazine, and online journalism, literature, and musical composition.
Sorry, what is it? Who is it named for?
I think it was James Pulitzer, I think. I didn't actually write it down.
You did write that down.
I must have accidentally deleted that that line in my notes. Actually, let me really quickly. Hold, please. Joseph. See, I had
Joseph
it here.
Pulitzer.
I had it here. I just didn't.
Oh man, look at those glasses.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, go to Joseph Pulitzer on Wikipedia. 1LTZ.
It'll be linked.
Okay.
I'm a link.
Fine.
That's what I do.
Click on the fucking link, guys.
So, yeah, Joseph Pulitzer is who it's named after. He is a fascinating man, but
with some fascinating glasses.
Yeah, but if I start a tangent on him, we'll be here for days because his life is just truly fascinating. I will hope that you will read about him for yourselves because, yes, please.
Yes.
please.
But anyway, Piper has this really sweet moment of telling Prue, you know, you did all these things for us to keep the house. Now it's your turn to follow your dreams.
Mm-hmm. And the word dream will be a recurring theme in this episode.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. The thoughts of following your dreams and being a dreamer is a recurring theme in this episode.
Uh-huh. As is the next sentence spoken by Phoebe about how Prue saw she was a photographer in a past life, and it must be some kind of sign.
Yeah.
So signs and dreams.
Mm-hmm. That
all everywhere.
That is this episode. I really, like, if they had named this episode, like, Dreaming of a Sign or something, like, that would have been so on point. I'm glad they didn't.
Not on point, on the nose.
Yeah, on the nose, yes.
Very different connotation.
Yes, I apologize.
It would have been overkill.
Yeah. So I'm glad they didn't do that. Anyway.
And then, because Phoebe has said the word sign, she kind of mutters to herself, speaking of signs, and then fucks off toward the stairs.
Yep.
And then Piper waits a second and then turns and runs after her and like, no.
Yeah, it was very funny. It was like, wait, where is she going? Oh God, she's going to do this. I don't want her to do this. And she runs after it. It was very funny.
And Prue apparently doesn't notice this strangeness with her sisters. She just walks over to a full-length mirror in the corner and she takes a picture of herself taking a picture.
Yep. She calls it Portrait of a Dreamer because, of course, she does. It was kind of sweet and kind of sad at the same time. She might be a dreamer,
but she's not all that inventive.
Well, there is that. It was kind of sweet and kind of sad at the same time. And then we cut upstairs to Piper standing outside of the upstairs bathroom, asking Phoebe if she's writing a spell.
We cut inside the bathroom, and indeed, Phoebe is bent over the vanity with a notepad and a pen. Mm-hmm. And she lies and says, "No, I'm in the bathroom."
Nobody writes spells in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very funny. And then she has apparently finished the spell.
Mm-hmm.
Like, super duper quick. She's learned from, just a couple of episodes, she didn't work well under pressure. And now she's writing spells left and right in super quick fashion.
Yeah, in very clandestine bathroom fashion.
Mm-hmm. And she pulls out a couple of dead flowers?
Where the fuck did she get those?
Yeah, no idea. Because she sure as shit didn't have pockets in that outfit.
Oh, God, no. Were they in the bathroom?
I don't know.
Did she just decide, hey, these flowers will work?
Well, I'm assuming
Do they keep spell ingredients in the bathroom? That would be weird.
That would be weird. But I'm assuming that we had to have missed a little bit somewhere because we didn't see her grab that piece of paper and pen either.
True. Like, maybe they were in her room. Though why would she have the perfect ingredient in her room? This is strange. These girls, what the fuck?
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
I don't think she could have gotten all the way up to the attic and then back down to the bathroom that time.
No, definitely
I mean, she definitely could have gone up to the attic and locked the door, but then Piper would have fucking known. Granted, Piper still knows. So, like, what's the difference? This was just done to have a silly bathroom moment, I think.
Yep, a little bit. So she takes the flowers, the dead flowers, and she, like, sprinkles the leaves and the petals over this piece of paper where she has written this spell, and she speaks out the words of the spell, which is, "I beseech all powers above, send a sign to free my sister's heart, one that will lead her to her love."
What is this rhyming structure? What?
Let's just sit with that for a moment, because
what?
I'm still trying to figure out where is there I've written this so there's no personal gain in this logic of this spell. And then you just listen to those words and you go, okay, let's break this down. I beseech all powers above. Okay, I get that. It's the I'm asking you to please help. I get that.
Hey, dude.
Yeah. Send a sign to free my sister's heart. Which that in and of itself could be
some help.
Could be problematic if you're not like thinking of it in the right ways.
Uh-huh.
One that will lead her to her love.
This kind of help.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, send me some help. Preferably this kind.
Yeah.
That's all that boils down to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a really weird rhyming structure.
It really, really is. So, again, not really sure how that wording precludes personal gain, but whatever.
But Prue is still in front of the mirror downstairs when we cut back to her, and then Bane walks up behind her and
is now in completely different outfit.
Yeah.
He is now in a white shirt, black pants and a tan jacket.
Mm-hmm.
Because reasons.
Yeah. And she doesn't really notice him until he says hello to her because she's kind of staring at her camera.
Mm-hmm.
And then she turns around. She ostensibly drops the camera. We hear a little bit of ADR glass breaking.
Mm-hmm.
And he presses a lovely white cloth to her face. She
and
struggles.
Yeah, within a few seconds,
and then
passes out.
So, chloroform, baby.
Well, here's the thing.
I think we're clearly supposed to assume chloroform because, it's kind of a pop culture, meme, I guess.
Yeah.
Rag over the face, pass out means chloroform.
Yeah. I'm not going to tangent on it yet. I'll get to it when they actually tell us that it is later on. Because,
spoiler alert, they tell us it is.
Yeah, because...
Yeah, whatever.
It's in my notes. But yeah, so she passes out after just a couple of seconds, and then we go to the opening credits, because of course we do. Now...
It is a lovely plush rag.
Mm-hmm.
At least in this moment.
Yeah. It's a lovely little white little towel-y typey thing. Mm. So, in the opening credits, we see that Daryl is in the opening credits, and Dan is not. So that's nice.
Daryl!
Yeah. So we get Daryl, and we don't have to deal with Dan. The post-credit song on Netflix was Everything's Alright by the Powwows. Now, I couldn't...
That is one word?
Yeah, one word, Powwows. Now, I couldn't find out a whole lot about the band due to the fact that a powwow is a Native American gathering, and that's the first thing that comes up when you search for the word powwow. So, of course, I'll link to that just because. But I did find a YouTube video with the song. It was apparently used in the movie Cowgirls and Angels, and that's just an N with 2 apostrophes, one on either side.
What?
Yeah, I'll link to that as well, but I'm not going to tangent on it because...
Okay.
Yeah. The post-credit song on the DVD is Making It Up As I Go Along by Marie Wilson.
Okay.
Now, it took me a little bit of digging to figure out anything about her because, Marie Wilson, not exactly a very unique name. She's an Australian singer-songwriter. She's made at least 10 albums, but she did take a break from music back in 2005. I did find a YouTube video of her singing the song from this episode, so I'll link that on the website. And I found her website where she actually has a single called Song for MS, parenthesis, Shine, close parenthesis. It's apparently being sold to raise money for MS research in Australia.
Oh,
so
cool.
I'll link to that as well, just because.
Just because.
Yeah. So, our lovely post-credit shots. We have a shot of the Golden Gate Bridge that quickly pans to the buildings in the background, and then fades into a shot of Alcatraz in the background of a streetcar coming up toward the camera.
Yay,
It's been so long. Yeah. Our streetcar total is now 8 for the season and 36 for the series. We're 15 episodes in. We have 8 streetcars. I'm really upset with these people.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get 2 shots of the Norwegian cargo ship that I cut the tangent out of the episode a few episodes ago.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
Because it was the most boring tangent and basically put Kendra to sleep.
Oh, right, that one.
Yeah, so I just cut it out of the episode, so you have no idea. But, maybe I'll link to that.
I think I spent about as much time complaining about how boring that was as you did tangenting on it.
Yeah, probably.
Did you leave in my complaints?
I doubt it. I don't remember. We have established, once I edit, I don't go back and listen. So, who knows? Anyway, we then get a shot of the Oakland Bay Bridge, and then there's an overhead shot of buildings, including the Triangle Building, before we end on a shot of the manor that shows us the Swan Hitch.
Yay!
So it's a good episode. We have that one. Though in this exterior shot, there are flowers in bloom outside the house.
Because what is continuity?
Mm-hmm.
They don't know.
Yeah. They were like white and yellow flowers.
Mm-hmm.
I think there might have been like a red one.
Too?
Yeah, there were like white flowers on the tree. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, we cut to inside where Phoebe is holding Prue's camera, which you can tell it's broken because someone has placed or somehow gotten the lens to look like a spiderweb crack.
Yeah.
And it's probably just like a static cling or something, or someone like legit just like put a lens cap on that's painted to look like cracks, because
it did not look like actual cracked glass.
No, it was the only indication that this camera had been dropped, because otherwise it was pristine.
Yeah, so she's holding the camera, trying to get a premonition, and Yeah, and Piper is, like, standing next to her, just kind of staring at her. It was
Which
kind of
does
funny.
not help.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah. Phoebe freaks out about the last thing she said to Prue being mean or whatever, because it was about the money thing. Piper tells her that overreacting is her job, which I thought was kind of funny. And, tells her to keep trying. And then the doorbell rings, so Piper tells Phoebe to try getting a premonition from the rag, our little white towel thing, as she goes to answer the door.
She walks out to the front door and opens it, and we see Daryl.
Yeah, he's in his brown suit today.
And he very cheerfully tells her that he's got bad news and worse news.
Yeah, so Piper, of course, yells out to Phoebe to join them. And Daryl tells us that Bane Jessup has escaped from county jail. And Piper tries to place the name, she's like, why do I know that? Why is that familiar? And Phoebe remembers that he's the one that was, hired to kill them all. Daryl says that Bane escaped that morning, and that's when they tell him that Prue is missing and possibly kidnapped.
Which is strange, because up until this point, I had assumed they'd called him, and that was why he'd come over.
Yep. But apparently not.
Apparently not. So Phoebe shows him the rag, and he very delicately grabs it and holds it up to his nose, and then kind of shakes his head and goes, chloroform.
Yeah, so here's where
darn chloroform.
So I'm not going to tangent a whole lot, because there's a lot of sciencey stuff that I don't get, but I'll link it on the website. But the short version is chloroform is the go-to thing for TV shows to use for its bad guys to knock out its good guys or its victims.
It's a meme.
Yeah. But it would actually take about 5 minutes of inhaling an item soaked in it to actually knock someone out.
Well, yeah, because it's supposed to replace the oxygen in your blood, and that takes a while.
Yeah, it's like if you're trying to choke somebody out. It takes a couple of minutes. It is not a quick thing by any means.
No, because oxygen deprivation to the brain is not an immediate thing.
Yeah. So, TV. What you gonna do?
Call Ghostbusters?
Piper tells Daryl that they would have called him, but they weren't sure who or what had taken Prue. So this is where we learn that he's here to let them know a thing. They didn't call him. So it's interesting.
But hey, coinky dink.
He, of course, thinks that it's probably Bane that took her because, they put him in jail. But Piper wonders why he wouldn't have tried to take them all. Which I think is funny because he's a fucking mortal. He couldn't take you all last time. Why would you think he would try to take you all this time? But whatever.
Piper's feeling left out, I think. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
But Phoebe's like, well, clearly it's a lure.
Yeah.
Or he might have been hired by a different demon.
Yeah. And that's when Daryl finally gets to his actual reason for being there.
He pulls an evidence bag out of his inner coat pocket and hands it over to Piper. It's a very flimsy evidence bag.
Yeah, and she immediately takes it out of the bag. And it's the silver dildo from earlier.
Well, he does say he can't exactly give it to evidence.
Very true.
When they ask later, a couple seconds later, if they can keep it.
Yeah, because we do get a better look at it this time, and it's got some intricately carved little designs on it.
Not that intricate. It's mostly straight lines and slight curves.
Well, but there's a lot of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's covered.
Yeah, Phoebe instantly says...
But it ain't no filigree.
No, it's not filigree. But Phoebe instantly says that it's demonic, which I thought was very funny. She immediately is like, well, this is definitely demonic.
Well, it's not a dog.
What?
No, I mean, just you can recognize stuff that is or is not something that you already know.
See,
if you see,
the meme is that everything in the world is either is or is not a potato. That's the meme.
Oh, I didn't know that meme.
Yeah.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
But no, you can look at an animal and go, is it a dog? Or is it not a dog? And if it's an animal you've never seen before, you can identify whether or not it would be a dog. And they do that a lot with, the magical shit.
Yeah.
They can tell if it's magical or if it's not magical. And, generally they'll just be like, well, hey, does it look friendly or not? If it doesn't look friendly, it must be demonic.
Apparently so.
So it's heuristics.
Sure. Anyway, so Daryl, of course, says he can't really put it into evidence and asks for them to let him know if they figure anything out.
Piper's like, would you mind trying to keep this a little quiet? And he's like, sure. And I'm just like,
I'll do as best I can.
And I'm just like, that's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Not at all, because you had a jailbreak.
Yeah, there is that. So he goes to leave, and as he opens the door, we see a delivery man. And he gets some lines and an IMDb credit, so let me tell you what I know. His name is Sean Christopher Davis, and that's Sean Sean.
As in Sean Bean.
He started acting in 1995. This was his 4th gig, but he hasn't done anything since 2009.
Ooh, 4 gigs in 5 years.
Hey, not everybody...
Not terribly prolific.
Well, not everybody wants to be an actor.
But that makes sense because his IMDb has no picture.
Yep. And he has no wiki page.
Nope.
So there we go.
Anyway.
Daryl leaves as the delivery man says that he has a package for Piper, and he...
More specifically, he says, got a sign for Piper.
Yeah. Phoebe takes the package while Piper is signing for it, saying that it is from Leonardo's Boutique in Bodega Bay, California. For anyone wondering, Bodega Bay is less than 2 hours north of San Francisco. So at least they picked a good spot.
True. And Piper's like, oh yeah, me and Dan went there. I ordered some earrings.
She says goodbye to the delivery man.
It's a very
closes
large
the door.
box for earrings.
Well, packaging and stuff.
It's like the size of a small box for truffles that you get from like a chocolate shop or something.
It was about the size of a baseball.
Yeah, it's not quite large enough for a cupcake. But it's way too large for some earrings.
Not necessarily. Not if they're in a box.
In a box, yeah.
Yeah.
Like in several boxes. But
not necessarily. I've gotten a small pair of diamond studs that came in a pretty thick box.
Okay.
In like a little jewelry boxy typey thing. So, it could happen.
It just strikes me as a very large box for a pair of earrings.
Hey, TV, what you gonna do? Anyway. So, Piper says goodbye to the delivery man, closes the door, and then she turns around on Phoebe, who, looks around and, backs up, kind of embarrassed that she's been caught red-handed. Yeah. It's kind of that, look of, oopsie doodle,
Piper knows what Phoebe was doing in the bathroom, and she is very not happy about it.
Yeah, she's very, very unexcited. Piper tells her to take the silver demon thing and go look in the Book of Shadows, but as soon as Phoebe takes it, she instantly gets a premonition of Prue sitting in a chair with her hands and feet tied, with Bane standing behind her, blindfolding and gagging her. She tells Piper what she saw in her vision, and then we cut to an exterior shot of a house under construction, and there is a sign outside that says, GC Construction, Mariners Bluff, Lot 827.
Gee, that's convenient. Anyway, we fade to Bane, who is walking into a room that has been drywalled and sealed, but not yet painted.
Yeah.
Or primed.
It was half painted. It was there was one wall that was white prime painted.
Okay, I didn't see that one.
Yeah.
But anyway, he walks behind Prue, who is indeed in a chair, bound and gagged. He unties her gag.
But tells her not to scream before he removes it, which I thought was
and it's actually really interesting because it kind of looks like the shot that Phoebe had a premonition of was a reverse of what's happening now.
Yeah, it was a little...
Because we never see him put the gag back on.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
But anyway, she's like, why shouldn't I? So he says some stupid line about how the nearest neighbor is 6 miles away, and besides, then they couldn't talk.
Yeah. She asks him to take the blindfold off, but he reminds her that he knows about her powers because, she used them on him.
And then he decides to take it off anyway.
Yeah, but he warns her that he'll put it back on if she tries anything. So he takes off the blindfold.
And it frizzes up her hair delightfully.
Yeah, it was kind of funny.
Or musses up, I guess, not frizzes.
Yeah.
Frizz would be a humidity thing.
She asks what he wants. He says that he wants her help to save his life. And she wants to know why he thinks that she'll actually help him.
And he's like, 'cause I don't stand a fucking chance against this demon without you and your sisters.
Yeah. He says that the demon Litvak wants him dead because he's a mortal who knows about demons.
And Litvak don't like that shit.
Yeah. And then Prue kind of looks around and asks where they are, which I think is very interesting that she's like, yes, tell me all of this exposition. Oh, okay, now tell me where we are.
Yeah.
But anyway. This is where we get another one of those, it was my dream until you took it away from me. That kind of thing.
Yeah, his dream was to have a pretty house in a subdivision that just is on the shore. That's fairly mundane for a dude who was charged with, racketeering and was involved in supernatural murder. What?
Yeah. It's a thing. So, we find out, like I said, that this is his place. And then they have like a little more meaningless conversation. And then Prue decides to fling him into the drywall to remind him that she'd never put her sisters in danger.
Which is interesting because we've never seen her use her eyes for her power since she got the hands.
Yeah.
So apparently she can still use them?
Mm-hmm. But she doesn't like squint the way she did in the beginning. She just kind of looks at him and like moves her head a little.
Yeah.
So, there's that. He, of course, then gets up and puts the blindfold back on because he said he was going to do that if she tried anything, and she did, telling her that she'll have to trust him eventually, and then he walks away.
And this is like some kind of fragment of blanket or something. It's folded a lot, very, very nice and thick and plush, and definitely blocks out light, unlike your average blindfold, which you can still kind of see through.
Depending on the blindfold, yeah.
But like, a lot of times when they blindfold people on TV, I'm like, that's totally see-through.
Mm-hmm.
That would be totally see-through. Yeah. Come on, guys. Put some effort into it.
Yeah. To me, it looked like it was like part of like a ripped up drop cloth.
It looked more like a sheet. It was a lot softer than a drop cloth. We see a drop cloth later.
Yeah.
That's like canvasy material. So this was more cotton.
Yeah, maybe.
Like thinner.
Yeah. Doesn't matter. Anyway.
Matters to us.
Mm-hmm. Then we cut over to a cemetery because, can't stay in one place too long.
And there's a dude raking leaves because it's February.
Yeah. And then we go into what I'm assuming is inside a mausoleum. We see a man wearing a black, robe thing. It kind of looked like a muumuu a little bit.
It looked like embroidered priest robes because there was a notch at the front of the
a little bit
at the front of the neck,
and there was
that looked like it would fit a collar.
Yeah, and there was like a line detail, embroidery thing on the chest. It was like vertical lines. He's standing, eyes closed, in front of a large rotating triangular sphere of fire. And yes,
how is it triangular?
It was like three triangles going in a sphere, in a circle.
Oh, it didn't really look. It looked like a rope ball to me, a rotating rope ball of fire.
It was like multiple
or
triangles.
like a scribble.
No,
it looked like a fire scribble sphere.
All right,
made out of railroad tracks. It was weird.
Anyway, so then we pan over to another guy in a black suit, which is so oversized and baggy, it's not even funny.
And I think he's wearing matching black gloves.
Yeah.
He's all in black, so clearly he's a bad dude.
Yeah.
But it's all completely non-distinct. We've already seen a dude wearing a much more interesting outfit, so we know this guy's a lackey.
Indeed.
And also his hair looks like a bloomin' onion. You're welcome. It seriously looks like a bloomin' onion.
Oh my god. Oh, Jesus. That is the best description ever. Yeah.
Again, you're welcome.
Yep, that is beautiful. Anyway,
Lackey McLackerson goes up to the dude in the fake guard suit.
Yep.
And
he walks
like,
in.
Are you done? And no, dude, fake guard's like, there was a problem. And then he starts to get an earful about how he can't even kill a single mortal. And then Lackey McLackerson's like, wait a fucking second, where's your partner?
Mm-hmm.
And this is when train track rope ball fire sphere.
Black robe dude.
Rope sphere fireball train track dude with the embroidered robe cuts in on the conversation by opening his eyes, and then the sphere of rope fire train track shit disappears.
Mm-hmm.
Because apparently it takes concentration to make one that big.
Apparently so. The guy in the baggy bullshit suit is like freaking out a bit.
And Lackey McLackerson.
Yep. And this is where we learn that our robed dude is indeed Litvak. So, let me tell you about him. The actor is Steve Railsback. He was born in 1945. He has been acting since 1972, and he's still doing stuff. And he is the first one of the night to actually have a wiki page. He has been in a ton of stuff, and he's actually played 2 different serial killers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He played Charles Manson in the TV movie Helter Skelter back in 1976.
Wow.
Which was, like, not too long after the whole Manson thing happened.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And he played Ed Gein in the 2000 movie about Ed Gein.
Of course he did.
So there you go. I'm not going to tangent on the serial killers, but the trivia pages for the movies are quite interesting. Apparently, Steve would lock himself in a closet for 2 hours every day to prepare for the role of Charles Manson.
Don't know how that helps, but okay.
Mm-hmm. And the role of Charles Manson was actually offered to Martin Scorsese.
Scorsese?
Sure.
That's how I've always heard it.
And I've said it how I've always heard it. So there you go. But yeah, it was offered to him before it was given to Steve. Which is very interesting because you don't think of him as an actor.
You really don't.
He is a director. It's what he do. Anyway, while I'm tangenting, I might as well tell you about the guy in the bad suit. His name is Keith Brunsman.
3 N's. Yeah.
Oh yeah, one in the middle, 2 at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took me a second. I was like,
well, if I just
what?
said 2 N's, then...
Well, no. The funniest part is I thought for a second, did I misspell it in my notes?
No, you didn't.
No, I did not.
But it's just one of those German words.
Yep. Anyway, he's been acting since 1992, mostly in single episodes of shows, including season 3, episode 19 of Buffy. So Keith is still acting, so that's good, I guess. But yeah, he has no picture on IMDb, which is kind of sad for someone who's still acting. You'd think there'd be at least one.
Yeah.
But no. Anyway.
Litvak is a very calm, demony dude with a slight southern accent. Or a slight accent of some sort. I'm not sure if it's southern. But I guess he was trying to appear very genteel.
Yeah.
And he asks Lackey McLackerson how he's going to fix the problem. And El McL tells guard dude to get on his knees and then immediately, like, kicks him in the stomach and leg or something.
Yeah, like he kicked him in the leg to get him to bow down before Litvak.
Uh-huh.
And it was really funny because then Litvak, like, puts his hand on the guard dude's head.
And we get this lovely graphic of, like, embers that burn through the center of a page out. It's like a transition frame
But it's an overlay frame.
Yeah, it's an overlay.
Yeah. And we get...
It's like it's Windows Movie Maker transition, but of embers.
Yeah. Yeah. That kind of works. I like that. So we get this overlay image of the entirety of the scene outside the jail with the guards and Bane.
And then to close, it does the same thing in reverse of the embers.
So Litvak relays that he saw what happened.
And the guard looks a little confused at this.
Yeah, a little bit. And then...
Or perplexed,
Yeah, perplexed is a good word.
Like, you did?
Yeah. And he mentions that he saw that, guard dude left the weapon behind, which annoys Lackey McLackerson.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, no worries, he'll find Bane.
And Litvak is like,
I have other plans.
No, he won't.
Not so much.
He puts his hand back on the guard dude's head, and then the dude basically gets consumed by fire.
Yep.
And screams, and then disappears.
Yep. And he tells his last remaining lackey, our bad suit Lackey McLackerson, to find the weapon and Bane, leaving no loose ends before he walks away.
I think Onion Head would be a better name for him.
No. Because then I would not be able to stop laughing. Lackey McLackerson is enough, thank you.
Okay.
We cut over inside the Halliwell Manor, where Piper is handing Leo the silver dildo object thing.
Phaser dildo.
Flashlight dildo.
Flashlight?
No, that's a different thing. I'm not linking to that. No. Leo is dressed in a long sleeve blue collared sweater over a white t-shirt and khaki pants.
He must work for State Farm.
His name isn't Jake.
Nope.
Piper is now in gray pants and a pink 3/4 sleeve shirt with a very small v-neck to it. Like it's kind of like a pointed penis collar.
A little bit.
Showing what looks to be now the same diamond necklace that Phoebe had been wearing earlier that looked like the diamond necklace that Prue used to wear.
It's all in the family?
Apparently so. And her hair is now just down and, flowy.
Yeah, it looks like she just went to the salon and had a blowout.
Yeah, a little bit.
Not a blow job, a blowout.
Yes. Phoebe is now in a red sweater with a very large cowl neck and fringe at the bottom.
It's like halfway between a cowl neck and a turtleneck.
Yeah, it's like an oversized turtleneck. Like a really baggy turtleneck.
Very thick material.
Yeah. And it has fringe at the bottom.
Yeah, and it's not very short.
Yeah, like it's not even an oversized sweater. It's just a normal sweater, but the bottom like inch and a half is fringe. It was very, very weird. She's paired this with black pants, and her hair is pulled up into some very elaborate small braids.
And she's got a couple of tendrils framing the face, which a friend of mine in high school used to call sexies.
All right.
Don't know why, she just called him that.
Yeah. I have an issue with Phoebe's intricate hairdos. Because we never see her doing her own hair. And I get that. That's fine. You know, we never see any of them do their own hair. But you just look at that and go, that had to have taken her at least half an hour, if not more. Why? Like, your hair was in a lovely ponytail earlier this morning. You've now gone into normal clothes and you decided, yes, I'm going to put 20 braids in my hair and put it up in this lovely little updo sweepy thing. Like, I think for me, because I personally do not have the patience for that, that I just look at that and go, why would anybody do that just for a daily thing? Like, if you're going to, like, a party or on a first date or something, maybe elaborate hairdo. But, like, why, as I sit here with a messy bun?
Yeah.
You know? Like, I don't have the energy to do elaborate little tiny braids and then curl the braids so that they go into like a little pattern. Like, it boggles my mind, the hairstyles that Phoebe pulls off.
Well, it Yahtzees my brain. I'm on a roll today, apparently.
Oh, Jesus. And what you don't hear in the final version of this podcast is the 30 seconds of silence of me not being able to talk because I'm laughing.
It wasn't 30 seconds, it was like 10. Oh. But anyway, Piper is telling Leo that they couldn't find our little silver fleshlight in the Book of Shadows, but he knows it's a weapon just by looking at it.
But I also wonder how extensively they looked in the Book of Shadows because, you know, reasons. Anyway, we then get some exposition from Leo, learning that there's a hierarchy of demons, but that he has no idea who this demon might be. And he hands the weapon back to Phoebe, who heads up to the attic to look through the Book of Shadows some more, because apparently they weren't very thorough the first time.
And Piper thanks Leo for coming over so fast and for taking her to the club while they figure this whole thing out. And it's at this point where I'm just waiting for Dan to walk in, even though I didn't remember he wasn't in the credits. Because I wasn't really watching the credits, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was just like, Dan's going to walk in on this. Piper is alone with Leo. Dan's going to walk in on this, isn't he? Isn't he? Isn't he? And then he never did.
Nope.
And I was like, you fucking teases. This always happens. And you didn't do it once.
That's right.
It's kind of like the whole house and lupus thing. It's never lupus, except for the one time it was.
Indeed. Leo reminds Piper that Phoebe's premonition proves that Prue is still alive because, you know, she's quietly freaking out the way that she can.
And they have a small hug.
Yeah. He says that he wishes he could do more to help.
Especially since, you know, he used to help in the past.
Yeah. And then he leaves through the front door, and even I will admit that at this point, like, I absolutely was just like, this would be where Dan would be standing at the door.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and he wasn't. But, so, as the door closes, she, like, turns around and leans against it, and she sighs, and then we cut to the other side of the door where Leo kind of, like, reaches out as if he knows that she's still there, and he, like, leaves his hand there for a brief second before he walks away. It was a really sweet moment. It was kind of adorable in that, like, sappy, over-the-top kind of, like, we want them to be together, goddammit, kind of way. You know? So then we cut back to Bane and Prue. She is still bound to the chair and still blindfolded. And he's trying to get her to understand that her life is in trouble as long as she's with him, but they'd at least have a chance if she got her sisters to show up.
She defensively says that she's not getting them involved. But he's like, I know they'll come looking for you.
Yeah.
They always fucking do.
Yep. And so he, of course, then walks over to the window to take in the view, and she's like, not if I can help it. And she takes this opportunity to astral project.
And we can tell she's doing this because her head goes all the way down to her chest, and we hear sound effect.
Indeed. We cut to the attic, where Piper and Phoebe are looking at the Book of Shadows, and we see, hey look, they found the page where the weapon is clearly drawn on the page, which is why I wonder, Did they not look very thoroughly the first time?
They never do.
They
look through the entire book every time they have to look something up.
Especially since, at least by this point, they've been witches for over a year, and you know that they have looked through this book in its entirety at least 3 times.
Probably more.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying at least 3, because they have mentioned it at least 3 times, that they have looked through the entire book. But yeah, so we see the page with the weapon drawn on it, and then Piper, flips the page, and we see some sketches of some demons, including little, small captions for each little demon. And we learn... Thank you, Blue. We learn that the weapon is issued by a level 2 demon, but we don't know which one.
And also, Leo said something about higher level demons, and I'm thinking, wait, higher is only level 2? Which direction is this coming from?
Yeah, who knows?
Is level 1 the highest? Or is level 1 the lowest?
Who knows? Never explained.
Never explained.
Anyway.
The camera pans down along the page to one of the demons depicted, and then suddenly, much to Phoebe's excitement, the Book of Shadows starts flipping pages, and we see a bunch of blank pages flip past.
Yeah, I love it. She goes, I love it when it does this, which is just very funny. And it stops at a page titled Mariners, which are apparently sea fairies.
And Phoebe's very confused about how this helps with Prue, and then Piper's like, this isn't about Prue, this is about Dan, because Dan used to play for the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah.
And she's super pissed.
Yeah. Phoebe looks a little bit sad about her spell making Piper unhappy, and then Prue's astral form appears in the attic. They're, of course, excited to see her because it means she's still alive, but she's like, you can't come find me, it's a trap, and then she disappears.
Yeah.
Without really letting them, say anything. And we see Piper and Phoebe looking a little perplexed. Which is just kind of funny. And then we cut back to Prue and Bane, where she gasps as she comes back, as she does. And he immediately turns around and unties her blindfold. He looks genuinely concerned because he thought she had passed out or something.
Yep.
And so he decides, okay, fuck this. And he gets up and unties her hands and unties her feet and is basically I'm letting you go. Just
Yeah, and we see that he very ineptly tied those hands and feet. The ropes were loose around her ankles.
Mm-hmm. She absolutely could have gotten away, at any point.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. He helps her up. She's confused, why are you letting me go? And he's like, you can't help me if you don't trust me. I never wanted to hurt you. There's a market a mile away. Just go.
Which means he lied about the neighbors.
Yeah, there is that. And then, Litvak's last little lackey dude in his bad suit appears in the doorway. And he has his own little silver dildo weapon. And he aims it at Bane and Prue. Bane, of course, ducks and, grabs Prue, pulling her down as they, land on, a bunch of random crap that's strewn about on the ground. And the lackey dude, aims his weapon again and goes to hit Prue with it, but she sees it coming and she holds out her hand and deflects the beam away.
And there's this lovely
not
reflection effect.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. But she doesn't deflect the beam back at the dude, which is what I would have done. Nope, she does it and it hits the wall.
Yeah.
Nice way of using your powers and not actually being helpful. So she flings the beam, it hits the wall, which startles him just long enough for her to then send him flying out the window.
And there's a beautiful glass crashing sound effect, and we see him come out the other side of said window,
landing on his hands and knees, which is not how you would land if you got flung through a plate glass window. Just saying.
It wasn't plate glass.
Well, yeah, it was definitely safety glass.
It was sugar glass or something.
Yeah, it was definitely tiny little beads is what it broke into. Yep. But he gets up and runs away, and we see that Bane has been cut on his side by one of the power saws that just happened to be lying on the floor.
Yeah.
Seeing that he got hurt because he was trying to protect her, she finally believes that he doesn't want to hurt her and that he actually needs their help. And then we go to commercial break, because of course we do.
Yeah, and that was, oh my God, Laggy McLackerson, just have some initiative, dude. You run at the first sign of trouble? Come on.
Yeah. There was a lot of things that happened in that scene that should have gone a different way, and this would have been solved a lot easier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like if Prue had, actually made his beam hit him and just killed him right then, it'd have been like, awesome. Now there's nobody to go back to Litvak and tell him a damn thing. But no, they left him alive, because of course they did, because they'll need him later. Right, Blue? Kisses? Thank you. So when we come back from our commercial break, we get yet another exterior shot of the Halliwell Manor, where different flowers are in bloom.
We are getting, every season in this show.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting to me.
Who can tell if it's spring, summer, fall? It could be winter. We don't know.
Yeah.
Not based on any of the footage, anyway.
Yeah, it's very interesting that they have all of these shots of the house in different angles, and nobody thought, maybe we should take all of these shots around the same time. Nope, apparently not.
Nope.
So the girls have called Daryl back because the news is now showing that Bane has escaped from jail. So much for keeping it quiet.
There was no way he was going to keep a jailbreak quiet.
No, not so much. We are shown a news report on the TV. So really quickly, I will mention the actress playing the reporter because there's not a whole lot to tell. Her name is Janice Chow. She only has 7 acting credits and no picture on IMDb. Just 2 weeks after her spot in this episode, her final role was in an episode of The Pretender.
Okay.
Which I'm totally going to make you watch after we finish. Leverage. We're going to The Pretender.
Okay.
Her first role was in a movie called Pinocchio's Revenge. And the only reason I even know about it is because Larry Cedar was in it.
Who's that?
He was on one of my favorite shows as a kid, Square One Television. It was the only show about math that I would actually watch. And if you have never seen it, you are missing out. I will totally put a few YouTube videos for Square One on the website, because then I can justify falling down the YouTube rabbit hole of watching 6 hours of MathNet. Anyway, back to the show.
Everyone is rather annoyed that the story got out. I don't know why. Of course it got out. It's a fucking jailbreak.
Yeah. And then Daryl sees the weapon sitting on the table on top of the evidence bag. Like they were done with it, so they just kind of put it back there. He asks if they know what it is yet, and they say that they're still looking, which I think was a lovely little...
lying.
Yeah, they're either lying to him or this scene was supposed to come earlier in the episode. Yeah. Because they know what it is. They tell him that they know that Bane has Prue, but that they aren't supposed to look for her because it's a trap. Which is why I think that they're just kind of lying to him, because they have now talked to Prue, so they already know what the thing is. Daryl reaches inside his briefcase, and he pulls out a very large file.
Not even just one file. It's several folders.
It's from the Department of Corrections, telling them that it is a copy of the file that the DA has on Bane.
And apparently, it's not even all of the files, because Daryl mentions he was in the middle of copying Bane's file from the DA
when they called him.
And this was all that he could get.
Yeah, before he had to leave because they'd called him. So then the phone rings, and Phoebe picks it up, and it's somebody looking for Leonora Watkins. And I love this little moment. She hands Piper the telephone, and is like, Leonora, and Piper's just like, you have the wrong number, and she hangs up. And I just thought it was the funniest thing. It was cute in that childish kind of way.
Yeah.
It was adorable. And
Daryl just kind of looks from Phoebe to Piper and then doesn't say anything.
Yeah, he just kind of is like, okay, sisters being sisters, sure.
He's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. And the conversation then goes back to Bane, and Piper is, of course, hoping that he isn't hurting Prue. And then we cut to Bane and Prue, because of course we do. Bane is sitting on a box. He has opened up his white button down. Mm-hmm. And Prue is kneeling on the floor, tending to his wounds.
And he's being a goddamn crybaby about it.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, he was being a bit of a
it's clearly a cut for comedy. Mm-hmm. Because Piper's like, I hope he's not hurting her. And then we hear him go, ah!
Yeah.
But as she's digging her fingers into the wound with what I'm assuming was part of the blindfold.
Yeah.
Or the gag. Either way, this is super, unsanitary.
Well, there is that. But we have a bit of a back and forth between them when he's trying to figure out why she's still there. And she's like, I can't leave you while you're injured,
Which, Max, he was stabbed 2 inches deep.
But, well, no, he had to have been stabbed pretty severely because it was a jagged saw blade, basically, is what
yes,
stabbed him.
But
so it wasn't a clean cut.
No, it wasn't a clean cut, but you did see how far down the blade the blood went.
Oh, well,
and it was max 2 inches.
Yeah, absolutely. But she then, because, we have to play up the comedy and quote-unquote sexual tension between them, she tells him that he needs to take his pants off so that she can get to the wound easier.
Never mind that it's at least 2.5 inches above his belt.
Uh-huh.
And
then when he objects, she says that she can do it by force.
And she kind of tosses her head.
Yeah.
And there's a musical cue here that's meant to sound adorable.
Yeah, no. I'm sorry.
I'm just eye-rolling.
Much
eye roll. When will Facebook get the eye roll reaction that we all desperately want?
Yes. The problem that I have with this, and I understand that they're capitalizing on the sexual tension that we have previously gotten between these two. Mm-hmm. And I will admit, there is more of a connection between Prue and Bane than there ever was between Prue and Andy.
Mm-hmm. Or Prue and Jack.
Yeah, well, that's a given.
You forgot Jack, didn't
you? I did. Because there was nothing there, at all. But this is one of those where, if he wasn't a bad guy and she wasn't a good guy, I could actually see this possibly being something, at least for a little while, because they actually have a little bit of chemistry.
Okay, yeah.
It's not like it would actually go very far or for very long, but they actually seem like they enjoy each other. Mm-hmm.
Actually, I was just kind of contemplating in my head how to make a pressure dressing. Because I'm like, well, you want to put pressure on the wound, but you also want to have your hands free. So, you get the one piece of cloth and, you make it into, a little pad, and then you get the other one and you tie it around his waist so that it presses the pad into the wound, and then you can stop the bleeding. And why is she saying that in order to clean the wound, she has to stop the bleeding? That's not how that works.
Yeah, there's
you clean the wound and then you stop the bleeding.
Yeah, there's a lot in this scene. Where
she ain't no doctor.
Yeah.
She's not even the other photographer.
Yeah. Anyway, then we cut back to Piper and Phoebe. Phoebe walks into the wicker room. She puts the Book of Shadows onto the table while Piper is looking through Bane's DA record.
She says something like, he's got quite the history. Racketeering, money laundering, name a crime, any crime? Honey, you named 2.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, that was it. But this is where I thought it was very, very funny, because she's giving us the little exposition of Bane's criminal history, and then she hands Phoebe a brochure for one of the real estate places that Bane has been using for money laundering. So this is where we see that this big, beautiful house that he's in isn't just a dream, it's a scam.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that.
Yeah. Phoebe opens it up and then jokes about the sea fairies being very happy in Mariner's Bluff.
Yeah.
And then Piper,
has
remembers.
This stroke of intuition.
Yeah.
And she's like, what exactly did your spell say?
And
so then Phoebe repeats the spell, not understanding what Piper's getting at. And Piper says that these signs that they're getting might have nothing to do with her, but everything to do with finding Prue.
Because if you'll recall, the spell did not specify Piper as the sister.
Indeed.
Which, honestly, Phoebe knows Prue's in the house. And they've all had previous experience with casting a spell meant for one of them that then gets applied to all of them. This has happened at least twice, I'm fairly certain.
Yep.
So, what the fuck?
Yeah. So, we are reminded that Mariner's Bluff, like Leonardo's boutique, is in Bodega Bay.
And that apparently the connection with Leonora Watkins
is the Watkins Road exit. Yeah.
And then they're missing an address. But as Phoebe pulls out the map of the lots in Mariner's Bluff and
Piper
goes to sit down...
Yeah, Piper asks if they're numbered lots, and then Phoebe sits down and she, accidentally sits on the TV remote and turns on the TV, and we see a woman on the TV. But before we get to her bit, I'm going to tell you about her, because that way we can end on the actual thing. The actress on the TV is Gwen McGee. She's been acting since 1986. She's mostly done single episodes of TV shows or TV movies, and most recently she's playing a judge on the soap opera Days of Our Lives. Again, she has no wiki page, so that's all I got.
Mm-hmm.
But there you go.
Her line on the TV says something about the Mariners losing to the Angels 8-7.
Uh-huh.
And Phoebe's like, oh, well, now we've gone back to Dan and Leo.
Yep, because
Mariners
of
versus the Angels.
But Piper asks if there's a lot 827 on the map.
Which is funny, because their roles just got, like, reversed for this whole spell thingy. Because normally, it's Piper being like, oh my god, Phoebe, what the hell?
Yep.
And she'll connect anything to Dan and Leo. And Phoebe's like, doing that now. It just struck me as funny.
Yeah, it was
because
interesting.
Piper was the one who actually had focus for the task at hand when stuff was going on about Dan and Leo. And I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. So Phoebe realizes that there is indeed a lot 827 on the map.
She points to it on the map. It's at the end of a lovely cul-de-sac.
Mm-hmm. And so they head out to find Prue, because that's what good sisters do.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So then we cut to Prue and Bane via a fade dissolve from the map. It was an interesting transition that they used there. We now come to the scene that I've dreaded waiting for in this episode, where he's all like, why are you still here? And she's all, I believe you. And then they got all like sappy about dreams yet again. And then they start making out. And like, there's like a little moment where it's broken for a second because he cries out in pain. And then they go back to kissing before we cut over to something else. It was one of those where you look at this scene and you're just like, first of all,
I'm now in a permanent arrow.
Yeah, he is still in pain. He is still bleeding. Why are you making out? Why is this becoming sexy times?
Oh, my eyes hurt now. I've eye rolled that much. My eyes actually hurt.
Yeah, it was not...
Like, okay, as a kid, I remember loving this episode. I remember loving this episode, and now I'm just like, well, clearly I've grown as a person because I find this writing completely abhorrent.
Uh-huh.
And so goddamn cheesy.
Uh-huh.
And I think, in general, my problem with this episode is a complete lack of earning the payoff.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah.
Yeah, this episode was written in a vacuum.
It was written by a 13-year-old.
Well.
It was written by someone who had the same amount of story writing experience as a 13-year-old, I should say. Because I've read fan fiction that was like this. I've read fan fiction that was 1,000 times better, granted.
Yeah, I don't read fanfic.
But this is about 50 Shades of Grey level. Except less flowery.
I was going to say, I haven't read that, so I wouldn't know. I refuse.
I have not read it myself. I, however, did listen to an excerpt from Gilbert Gottfried reading it.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Which is the best way to experience that book.
No.
No, it seriously is.
No, I cannot listen to his voice. I'm sorry. I can't do it. Can't do it.
See, okay, that's the thing. It helps.
No.
Well, yeah, but if you tried reading the book on your own, if you tried reading the excerpt he reads, you would be less okay with that than you would be with him reading it. I'm telling you.
I'm good.
That's how bad that's how bad that book is.
Oh yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
I'm just good with not. So
that's perfectly fine.
Not. So we cut to Litvak's little mausoleum, and our lackey in a bad suit is kneeling on the ground before Litvak, who's doing the mind reading thing. Yeah, we get the flash vision of what happened, and then the lackey dude thinks that he's going to get killed.
He's like, Oblivion, right?
Yeah.
And apparently on your transcript it said,
For Bolivia. Yeah. I enjoy my transcripts because whoever does them does not speak English as a native language. I swear it. Because there are so many things where you're just like, really? The word that he said was oblivion, not for Bolivia.
I mean,
like, even if it had just said Bolivian, that would have made more sense. You know, oblivion, Bolivian, at least that would have made sense. But no, it said for Bolivia. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, so, it's really funny because for all that he was completely unwilling to carry through his objective, he's at least extremely understanding that there are consequences from his boss for not doing shit.
Yeah.
But, like, why wouldn't you just have done the shit in the first place?
Well, there is that, but, you know, because we need him later. So, Litvak knows that he wasn't just up against a mortal, but also a very powerful witch, so he gets to live.
Yeah, he gets a pass on this one.
Yeah. Also, I'm assuming because he's, the last lackey that Litvak has, and he doesn't want to try and do it himself.
This is true.
Yeah.
So Litvak is like, well, take me to this place. Lackey McLackerson is like, they're totally way gone by now, huh?
Yeah, but
mirroring the conversation Prue and Bane had, where they're like, well, if we stay put, it should be better, because they'll think we're gone by now.
Yeah. We learn that Litvak can apparently tap into their essence, which is why he wants to go back to the house. And we also learn that Litvak got his position of power by feeding witches to the Source. Dun, dun, dun!
Capital S.
Yeah.
Capital T, too, probably.
Probably. And then we go to commercial break because why wouldn't we? Mm-hmm. But so this is the first, real mention that we have of the Source.
Dun, dun, dun!
Yeah.
Are we going to do that every time?
Maybe.
I think we have to.
Maybe. Possibly.
Or dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. We'll see.
So, yeah. The camera pans over the floor of what has now become Bane's almost sex pad?
Yeah, we come back from the commercial.
There's clothing everywhere. We see Prue's sweater. We see some pants. I think we see a shoe.
Yeah, there was a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And then we pan over to a drop cloth that is apparently covering Bane.
Yeah, and it's a paint-covered drop cloth, so it's not even a clean drop cloth.
And plaster.
Yeah.
It is dirty AF.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no, you don't want to be naked on this shit. You barely even want to be clothed on this shit.
Yeah, it's not a
you wear
good
booties
look.
over your shoes. No part of you should be touching this drop cloth.
Yeah, it's not a good look. And
certainly not naked part of you. Oh my god, this is how you get a UTI. Do you want a UTI, Bane?
But seriously, if you have ever painted a house and put down a drop cloth and drop some paint on it, you look at that and you just go, I don't ever want to step on this again.
Well, also, they were just after the plastering stage.
Yeah, it's not a comfortable thing.
He's gonna look like he was in the makeup trailer to play Data on TNG because he's gonna be covered in plaster dust. That's how he should look.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, it'll look like he just wears pants out in the sun because that's where the tan line goes. He's gonna have a lily white ass.
Yeah.
From this drop cloth.
Anyway,
that's enough talking about drop cloths. He realized Prue is not next to him.
And calls out for her. And we see that she is standing in front of the window, gazing out at the view. And she is now wearing just the white shirt that she had on underneath the pink sweater. And a pair of black shorts that could possibly be his boxers.
Oh, they're definitely his boxers.
Yeah.
Because
but they didn't really look
neither of them were wearing shorts.
Right, but it didn't really look like boxers, though. They just kind of looked like silky shorts. They didn't look like boxers.
They didn't look that silky to me.
But, they didn't look like boxers. But you know why? Because they were really, shorts. They fit her like shorts. They didn't look like they would have fit him as boxers.
Well, honestly, I'd peg him for more of a boxer brief guy.
Well, there is that, but...
But, also, the pants he was wearing were rather baggy.
Right, but what I'm saying is that these little black shorts that she is wearing do not look like they would have fit him
they ain't that
comfortably.
Little. I could see them fitting him. He's got a tiny butt.
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Trim waist, tiny butt, probably well-formed, but we never actually see it, so I can't speculate.
Yeah. Whatever.
Well, I can only speculate, I should say.
Yes. He walks over to her, holding the drop cloth around him because, he's naked.
Mm-hmm.
They then joke...
As Prue would say.
Yep. They then joke about their views. Her saying the view outside is lovely, and him looking at her saying his view is just as lovely.
Ow, my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
From rolling.
Yep.
Not from looking at this. My ears also hurt, granted.
Yes. She jokes that she couldn't find all of her clothes before saying that she'll help him with Litvak as long as he turns himself in when it's all over.
He has some shitty line about running away with him. And moves in to kiss.
We should run away together.
Yeah. Again, written by a 13-year-old.
Mm-hmm. So he moves in closer to give her a kiss, and as Prue is about to wrap her arms around him,
we hear the freezy sound.
Yeah, and he freezes in place, and she kind of looks at him confused as Piper and Phoebe walk down some stairs, which where were these stairs that we haven't seen before, but whatever. They walk in and notice Prue and Bane, and we get the little, we're here to protect you, though it seems like you don't need protecting kind of scene.
Yeah, she definitely needed protection, though.
There is that.
Uh-huh.
And then Phoebe calls Bane yummy, which I thought was kind of funny.
It's very Phoebe.
Yeah, and then Piper points out that Prue's panties are on the floor.
And Prue's like, oh, there! Apparently that was the clothing she couldn't find.
Well, to be fair, it was a white G-string on top of a white drop cloth. So, it blended.
Drop cloth ain't that white, though.
But it blended, So Prue rushes over to pick them up, and she gets, a little fumbly as she tries to hide them as she's talking. She reminds them that this is a trap, and then she asks how they found her.
Yeah, okay, sorry, side note. This is a G-string she's clearly never worn, because it is like snow white. Like, okay, props, you picked a weird pair of panties for that.
Yeah, they should have at least been black. Like, they should,
black, or blue.
Yeah, they should have been
maybe red.
Something other than
white.
Yeah, not so much. Anyway, we're not speculating about underwears anymore.
I'm just speculating about the prop department's decisions in this case.
Well, there is that. So we, of course, then get more exposition where Piper and Phoebe don't trust Bane, but Prue does, and then they unfreeze Bane, and Piper tells him to get dressed. And
Phoebe tries to watch him, but Piper clears her throat and, puts her hand over Phoebe's eyes and then turns her around.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. It was kind of cute.
It was very cute.
It was very sisterly.
Yes.
And then we cut to an exterior night shot of the manor, so we have time jumped. And Bane and the girls walk into the house, and he asks for peroxide to clean his shirt.
Prue sends them to the upstairs bathroom.
Because they only have the one at the Mo, apparently, even though there was supposedly one downstairs
in the
last
closet.
Season, And the girls head to the wicker room. And we get a cute moment where Piper and Phoebe say that they're relieved that Prue is okay and that she's completely lost her mind.
Because she has.
Prue, of course, sidesteps all of this, saying that they have to vanquish Litvak, no matter what side Bane is on, and then asks for help in finding Litvak in the Book of Shadows, and she starts to, flip through the book. And then, because we can't stay one place too long, we cut to a night shot of the Mariner's Bluff house, where inside we see Litvak and his little lackey just kind of standing there, and Litvak has his eyes closed. And then we jump to Bane in the bathroom looking in the mirror.
He does that classic horror movie thing of having the mirrored cabinet open, finds the peroxide, and shuts it to find that there's a figure behind him. It's Litvak in glowy outline.
Yeah,
so,
it was a lovely shiny
Adobe
image.
Photoshopped.
Yeah, a little bit. It was kind of funny.
Adobe Photoshopped outer glow.
Yeah. He, of course, then turns around in surprise, but there's nobody in the room. The room is completely empty. And Litvak is like, I'm a telepathic image. I'm only in your head. That kind of stupid thing. And we get a little bit of banter back and forth with Litvak trying to scare Bane and Bane trying not to be scared,
Is this the point where he mentions that he can feel his essence all over the house?
I believe it is.
Because considering that I doubt Prue had any condoms on her and he just broke out of jail, I hope they used the pull-out method, so yeah, you'd find his essence everywhere.
Yeah. Well, Litvak does say that he bedded a witch. I hate that phrase. Bedded. Really?
There was no bed there. He dropped cloth to witch.
Yes. Yes, he did. But he also somehow knows that the witch that he bedded is one of the charmed ones.
Because apparently she has a very distinctive essence herself.
Yeah. And so, of course, he tries to make a deal with Bane of his life for their lives. Bane, of course, says no, and then Litvak's like, well, I'll just keep sending demons after you till you're dead.
Really? Really? Where are you getting these demons, dude?
Well, apparently lackeys are not lacking.
He's not lacking.
He's not lacking for lackeys, exactly. Bane then punches the mirror, breaking it. But
digitally breaking it.
But no pieces fall out of the frame.
It is another one of those too perfect spiderweb crack situations.
Yeah. And then Litvak reminds Bane that they're both evil and tells him to bring the witches and his weapon back to the house because
some men are very sensitive about their weapons.
Yeah, because we have to get that weapon back in the hands of evil.
Anyway.
We then cut to Prue walking up to the bathroom door, and she knocks on the door asking if he's in the bathroom, and he comes out, which apparently surprises her because she thought that he'd skipped out on them, which I think is very funny because he was in the upstairs bathroom. You'd have seen him leaving. Just saying. Unless he jumped out the goddamn window.
I mean, it is right over that overhang by the front door, so...
I don't think so. Whatever.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Well, he says that he was just washing up, and then he closes the door and walks away. Now,
no one talks about the fact that he's clearly not used any peroxide on his shirt, so what the fuck was he doing?
Yeah. I just thought it was interesting, because, like, she completely just buys what he says. Like, he closes the door, and he starts to walk down the hall, and she kind of, like, stares after him, and then, like, follows him after a moment of hesitation.
Well, she trusts him.
Yeah, but, like, we never, at least in this episode, never see them notice the fact that he has broken the mirror in the bathroom. It's not brought up at all, ever, in this episode at least.
Apparently none of them had to pee.
Yeah. And I haven't watched the next episode yet, so I don't know if it's brought up ever again. Like, ever, or I should say, ever, period. But I'm doubting it.
It's not.
So,
like, I haven't even watched the next episode, but 99% sure it's not.
Yeah. So it's just interesting to me, the little things like this that, like, just drop by the wayside. There's now a broken mirror in the bathroom, and yet...
Mm-hmm. Well, his sentence is probably for at least 7 years.
Yeah. But, you know, next episode, we'll see if they go into that upstairs bathroom and if the mirror is fixed.
If they go in, it will be, I'm sure.
Probably. Anyway... So, we cut to Litvak and Lackey at Bane's house, where Litvak is still standing with his eyes closed.
Is that like Pinky and the Brain?
Litvak and Lackey? Possibly. Litvak is still standing with his eyes closed, and the Lackey, like, says something, like he asks something, but Litvak just, like, shushes him.
Not only is he a demonic priest, he's also a librarian.
Apparently so. And then we jump back to Phoebe in the Wicker Room as Bane and Prue come down the stairs. And she's like, you know, we found Litvak in the book, but there's nothing about how to vanquish him.
Because for some reason it decided to be vague today.
Mm-hmm.
And Phoebe makes a crack. She says to Bane, all of our jewelry better be there.
Yeah. Like, he's not a jewel thief, dude.
I know. I was expecting him to make a crack back. Because, honestly, like, he was doing money laundering and racketeering. He was not a cat burglar.
Yeah. But he doesn't. He just lets it go. And then there's some discussion about if Litvak even knows about all three of them. And Bane reminds him that his lackey knows about Prue's power and that he's probably told Litvak about it. So he's going to show up sooner or later. And then they wonder what Litvak's other powers are, but apparently nobody has a clue. And then Bane is like, well, do you still have that weapon? And then there's a little bit more back and forth where they're trying to figure out if they can use the weapon against Litvak, and Piper and Phoebe still don't trust Bane.
But apparently, what he says is that he managed to use the weapon against the guard at the jail, which he didn't really.
No, I think what it was that
he says he's managed to use it against one of them before.
He managed to get one of them to activate the weapon,
okay,
is what he said. And he was able to get them to activate the weapon, and then able to use the guy who was using the weapon at him to get him to get the other guy.
Okay, the wording was a bit vague on what he
Yeah,
said.
it was a bit convoluted.
Mm-hmm.
But it all worked out in the end.
Yeah. But so it's like, well, I trust you girls, and you need to trust me, and I trust him. Like, there's a lot of trust going on over here.
Yeah.
And so Piper's like, okay, I'll go get it. And she drags Phoebe along with her.
Yeah, she kind of like grabs her by the sweater. It was kind of
She grabs her by the cowl and then just walks.
Yeah. Prue tells Bane that she'll be right back, and then she gives him a kiss on the cheek and walks off. And then Litvak appears in all of his shiny glory in front of Bane, and after a moment of Bane just kind of staring at Litvak, he goes, we're on our way.
You know,
and then we go to commercial break.
He kind of looks like a Force ghost.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. So we cut to all four of them walking side by side through a cemetery.
And they've all added jackets to their outfits.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think it's Phoebe who says, he lives in a mausoleum? How cliche.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. And so they go over what little plan they have. And Bane asks for the weapon as a show of faith.
And I ask for him to fix his fucking lapel because one side of it's turned slightly up and it's bothering the crap out of me. But, spoiler alert, that never happens.
Nope, it doesn't.
It's even the same way in the next set.
Well, but at least that means that they kept that continuity.
I would have loved for the continuity to not be kept in this instance.
Yeah, there is that. But, so Phoebe, of course, is expecting to be double-crossed and doesn't want to give him the weapon.
But Piper somehow is turned into a gambler because she says it's all or nothing and just hands it over to Bane. Yeah,
so he takes it and he walks up to this tomb. And we see the sign on the tomb for a William Bowen, 1889 to 1979. Mm-hmm. Now, I will just remind you of the last episode where Prue's past life was a P. Bowen.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
So this could be her past life hubby.
Or it could be a cousin or
something like that.
Something. But it's the fact of they used Bowen and that was, one of their past life relatives. I just thought it was interesting.
Mm-hmm. And here we get the possibly most cliche moment of the entire episode because he walks up to what looks like just a straight up panel. There's no door on this mausoleum.
Well, there is, but it's
not
there's
bare.
No handle.
Yeah, there's no handle.
Yeah.
And he turns all of the 9s upside down. There are 3 9s, so he makes 666.
And then the door just kind of swings open.
And I'm like, you want to talk about cliche, man? Really?
Yeah, it was definitely funny to me. But I did think it was interesting, though, that they decided that the guy, this William Bowen who died, was like 90. Like, at least he lived a long life, you know? That's pretty good for someone starting, in the 1800s.
And hey, if he was a relative, they probably would have met him because he was still alive.
Possibly. Not necessarily probably, but possibly.
Well, he probably wasn't a relative.
I don't know. It is never explained.
Nope.
So, anyway.
Also, it's never explained why Bowen installed this weird demonic puzzle lock.
Yeah, who knows? We don't question these things.
See, it's another thing that a 13-year-old would write. Like, this is the secret to opening this tomb. Make a 666.
Yeah. Who knows? Anyway, so he tells them to wait for his signal, and then he heads inside. Phoebe, of course, hopes they aren't making a huge mistake. And then they follow behind him after a moment. And we cut inside to Litvak, sitting in a chair, flipping through a very old, very thick book.
It kind of looks like a Book of Shadows dupe, except it's got, like, these 2 clasps on it.
Yeah, and he's not, like, actively holding the book. Like, he's flipping pages, but he's not touching the book. He's just, like, moving his hand and the pages are flipping. And his lackey is, like, pacing in front of him, fiddling with his little silver dildo weapon. Mm-hmm. And then Bane enters, and Litvak, like, closes the book, and he makes a show of closing the latches on the side, so that he is, like, physically looking down at his lap where the book is, so that way we can see that the girls are sneaking in and hiding behind a wall without him noticing.
And somehow the Lackerson is not looking.
Yeah, he's not paying attention, because, Yeah. So Bane starts to walk up to Litvak, and the lackey goes to, like, use the weapon on him. Like, he pulls it out. He doesn't turn it on, but he points it.
He primes it. Like, you see it light up, but you don't see it fire.
Yeah. Which is why I say flashlight. It is a flashlight. It is a blue flashlight. But Litvak, of course, stops him, and Bane gives him back the weapon that the guard had dropped, saying that he hopes to be spared because he's giving him this weapon back.
And Litvak's like, it'll take a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else for me?
Yeah. And then Bane gives the signal, and Piper just kind of, like, sticks her hand out and freezes the room. I love when she does that. I don't know why, but it just makes me giggle that she just, like, sticks a hand into the room and just freezes everything, doesn't even look at what she's doing. It's just
my favorite
adorable.
is when she does that to, like, unfreeze a room. Mm-hmm. Like, she just reaches her hand around the corner and unfreezes it.
Yeah. It's just fun. Mm-hmm. So, they all come out from hiding behind the wall, and they're all just like, that was a little too easy.
Which shows me that,
they're learning.
Their characters might be becoming self-aware, because this writing is way too easy. Yes.
Yeah. So Piper walks cautiously toward Litvak, and she's, reaching out to take the weapon from his hand when he moves his hand away. And she does the most adorable little freak out.
Yeah, she, like, jumps back, and it reminds me of other reactions she's had to things. Mm-hmm. Like, was there a thing with an animal or something that she jumped away from?
I don't remember, but it reminded me of the adorableness of the blades in the in the castle picture thing. It's like the just like kind of like thing where she flips out that he isn't frozen, and she like quickly retreats back over to like Prue and Phoebe. Yeah. She like quickly retreats back over to like Prue and Phoebe, and they all kind of like take steps backward and they kind of huddle together. It was adorable in its stupidity, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But
according to Litvak, he's immune to witches' parlor tricks. And I'm just like, this is never done through the entire rest of the series.
Uh-huh.
Like,
apparently that was his big deal power
maybe
thing.
they'll unfreeze fast, but they all at least freeze.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But he then says that Bane knew about his power to not be frozen, and he reaches out his left hand to his side and like...
Yeah, he's gotten up from the chair at this point.
Yeah, and like a very small rotating...
Little rope ball of fire train
Yeah,
tracks.
the little triangular sphere of fire shows up. Phoebe then tells Prue that she's pissed at her, which was just adorably funny.
Prue's like,
of course,
no,
is
wait,
like,
hang on.
No, there's something wrong. And then Litvak is like, the source will be pleased. And Prue's like, you know,
Piper, unfreeze Bane. Unfreeze it now.
Yeah. And like, after a moment of hesitation, she unfreezes Bane. And Bane, who sees that Litvak's lackey still has the weapon pointing in the proper direction, like, stands behind him and uses his hand to aim said weapon at Litvak. Mm-hmm. And then Prue has one of my favorite lines from this particular scene of, "Tell the source we said hi," as Litvak turns around with confusion, because he's then hit with a beam of bluish-purple light from the weapon. And he's like, screams, and then he...
yells, "Traitor!"
Yeah, and then he pushes his own beam of bluish-purple light weapon thing toward Bane, but Bane gets out of the way by flinging himself into a wall. Like, that was the funniest thing ever, where he doesn't just, like, back up or run away or duck down. No, he literally just jumps backwards into the wall. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
Which makes, of course, this beam weapon thing hit the lackey, and they all kind of, like, blob around.
Yeah, they're kind of, like, pulsing red and, like, expanding.
Yeah, they, like pulse purple and they pulse red, and, like, it's literally, like, they become these, like, jello blobs in the air. It's really funny.
Yeah.
And then, like, these little, like, the blue-purple beams just kind of, like, move around, whatever, and then they both just disappear into a puff of fire.
Uh-huh. They cleaned up after themselves.
Yeah, I love when they do that.
I know.
Yeah, it's great. Prue then runs to help Bane up, and Phoebe asks about said double cross.
And he's like, dude, Litvak is telepathic. He would have known if I'd told you about like all the powers he has.
Yeah.
And also you would have changed your plan, and then he really would have known.
Yeah. And so Piper asks how Prue figured it out, and then Prue and Bane both say, "We trust each other," and they smile. And it was kind of cute in that, like, sappy, gross way.
No, it passed cute. It was just sappy and gross.
But it was that, like, you know, again, if you think about it as if he wasn't evil, and if...
It was a tell not show moment. That's the problem.
Maybe. But it was that, like, you could kind of see where they were trying to be like, let's be cutesy together.
I would have accepted a kind of, like, knowing smile toward each other. That would have been cute. Mm. But saying, "Oh, we trust each other." No, this is solidly in a weird after-school special.
Yeah. If they just left it on, like, them staring at each other and not
smiling
said
at each other, great.
Yeah.
Saying that shit, no.
Yeah, it was a little much. Yeah. So, then we fade into an exterior night shot of the Halliwell Manor a little while later.
Uh-huh. And we get the camera that is on the other side of the table, which is still piled with camera stuff.
Yep.
And it kind of, like, pans to the side, and you see Prue and Bane sitting on the wicker love seat in the wicker room.
Yeah. And they're just kind of, like, sitting next to each other, and we get a sappy little scene between them where we learn that he's decided to go back to jail because it was the right thing to do. And he tries to apologize to Prue, but she's like, you know, "I'm not sorry for anything that happened." And then they thank each other. It was kind of odd.
Yeah.
And then she climbs onto his lap to give him a hug. not like sitting on his lap, but on his lap, but like climbing over him so she is facing toward him.
Like if she hadn't been wearing pants, this would be round 2, possibly 3. We don't know how many rounds they went.
Yeah, it was very... If they had been naked, it would have been sexual, but because they were clothed, it was
a little weirdly intimate.
Yeah, it was odd, because she doesn't, like, kiss him, she just hugs him. Mm-hmm. It was that weird, like, had they been naked, it would have gone into sexy times.
Yeah.
But because they were clothed, it just became this weird, like, I'm tiny, and so I'm going to sit on your lap and give you a hug.
Mm-hmm. And show
so that you don't have to
jeans.
Yeah. So you don't have to get up to hug me.
And my delightful butt.
She does have a nice butt. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's
never get to see his, because the style of the 90s and early aughts was that men wear extremely loose slacks. Which is no fun for anyone.
Well.
Like, I could go for some of that Leo Jean action.
Yeah.
Or Dan. I think we've seen a little bit of Dan's butt. Yeah. In jeans, probably. See, if he'd just been wearing jeans, we would have gotten to see his butt.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna go on now. Again, because we can't stay in one place too long, we then jump over to an exterior shot of P3. We are in the final scene of the show. Mm-hmm. We see the neon sign. There is no now appearing sign on the wall. And we see, like, heads of people standing outside lining up to get in. Then we jump inside and we pan across a bunch of people as we head through the club.
And we both love the one shot you see in the pan, a dude wearing a hollow shirt.
Yeah, he is wearing, like, he has a ponytail, long-haired ponytail, and he is wearing a very bright holographic shirt.
Shiny as fuck.
Yeah, and I almost lost my mind.
I was like, yes, please.
Yeah.
Let me cut the sleeves a bit shorter. I will wear that.
Yeah, I totally was just like, where is this now? How do I find it? I want it.
It was a collared button-down hollow shirt. We can't see the front, but we know that's what this is because we see the back of the collar.
Yeah, it was a collar. Yeah, it was... If it wasn't a button-down, it was at least a polo.
Yeah.
But it was a collared holographic shirt.
It would not have been a polo in that material.
That's the style. The polo style.
Yeah, but in that material?
But that's what I'm saying. We didn't see the front of it, so...
I know. I just assumed it was a button-down, because that would fit with what I've seen in fashion.
Oh, yeah. It probably was, but...
Mm-hmm. But anyway.
Whatever. I totally lost my mind because I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, and then we panned over the bar, and there are at least like 10 lava lamps on the center of the bar in between all of the bottles.
Yeah, as like decor. I'm not going to tangent on lava lamps, but I totally looked them up because I remembered seeing an episode of Mythbusters where they attempted to see if the story of a guy getting killed by a lava lamp was true.
I forget. What was the conclusion for that one?
I believe they said it was plausible, but not probable, I think.
Okay.
Though it actually happened, and therefore they couldn't say it was busted, but I don't think they could get it. I don't think they were able to recreate it.
Okay.
I don't remember completely.
But it was probably one of those Final Destination situations.
Yeah, who knows?
Like, death makes all things possible.
Indeed.
Ugh. Death makes all things fucking dramatic.
Well, like in Jurassic Park, where life finds a way, death finds a way.
Death doesn't need to find a way. Death's got a guarantee.
Very true.
Why does death care about order? Fate cares about order. Death doesn't give a fucking shit.
Well, that's a topic for another day.
I mean, I learned that from Supernatural. Fate's got a huge stick up her butt. Everyone's got to die at the right time.
Yeah.
Death doesn't care. He just wants to eat pizza.
Anyway, we see Leo behind the bar, and he is wearing a silky black shirt, but we don't stay on him.
I feel like we've seen that shirt before.
Possibly. We continue to pan over until we are at Phoebe and Piper. Piper is now in a green dress with her hair down but being held back with a headband, and she's got a little diamond necklace on. Mm-hmm. Phoebe is in a red top and skirt with a red necklace on her head, and I believe she's worn this necklace on her head before.
Yes, during Reckless Abandon.
Yeah. And her hair is pulled up. Or if it
wasn't the same necklace, it was at least similar enough.
Yeah.
And her hair was pulled in the same type of bun situation.
Yeah, she has a lovely elaborate little bun thing going on again. Mm-hmm. Phoebe is wondering who the source could be, but Piper says she doesn't want to know. And then they start to say more, but Prue comes up to them. And she is wearing a black and white dress with frilly straps and a couple of different necklaces. And her hair is pulled back into like double French braid that's like combined into the middle. It was kind of cute, actually. I liked that hair. Prue brings them up to speed on Bane going back to jail, and then there's a little exchange of them being a good influence on each other.
Wrapped up in a sex joke from Phoebe.
Uh-huh. And Prue asks exactly how they found her. So Phoebe tells her about the spell to help Piper decide between Dan and Leo. Prue, of course, then asks what the outcome of that spell was, and we see Leo at the bar, and then Piper has one of my favorite lines. I never needed a sign to tell me where my heart lies. And she looks at Leo, and he smiles, and then Piper looks back at Phoebe and Prue, and she smiles, and we go to the end credits.
And then I spent a few minutes trying to recall plot lines for the next few episodes.
Well, there is that.
Mm-hmm.
But I am confused as to why they didn't just scry for Prue. It's like they forgot that they could.
They've only done it like once.
Yeah, I'm aware. We have a tally count for it.
Yeah.
But the point is that it's like they forgot that they could do it.
Because they did. Or at least the writer forgot because they're 13.
Yeah.
Can't expect 13-year-olds to remember everything.
Yeah, there is that.
Goodness knows I could barely ever remember my homework.
Well, but yeah, so that means we're done. So we are on to our ratings portion of the evening.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to go first?
Sure. I'm going to give it 6 out of 10 bloomin' onion hairdos.
All right. And I am going to give it 7 out of 10 silver dildo weapons.
Nice.
Because, of course, I am. So with our ratings done, we are on to our outfits of the episode. Did you have a favorite?
I'm going to go with Piper's dress from the end.
Mm-hmm.
It was just the nicest.
Yeah. I'm going to
add on top of it Piper's hair from the middle of the episode.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have to admit, I actually really liked all of the ending dresses. Though I do kind of have a soft spot for the bedazzled jeans.
Yeah.
Just
not the top, though.
No, not the top.
It was just a
the
weird
jeans.
neckline for her.
Yeah, not the top, just the jeans.
Okay, and the shortness of shirts in this era, like how they always end like at or just above the hip, combined with mom jeans, like it just makes everyone's torso look super short and thus make their boobs look completely unproportional.
Yeah, a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Which is why I loved Phoebe's outfit from the beginning, because, you know, the sports bra and where her pants sat, I'm like, yeah, this is nice proportioned. She could wear this today and it wouldn't look dated.
Very true. Very, very true.
Mm-hmm. Whereas, obviously, it didn't have a whole lot of support, but, you know, that's her problem.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, so we are now on to social media.
Social media plugs.
Yes.
You can find us on Twitter and Tumblr at CharmChatsPod. Mm-hmm. You can always email us with questions, comments, queries, any sort of little odd thing at charmchats@gmail.com.
Yep. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram and Patreon at CharmChats.
Mm-hmm.
And if you would be so kind as to rate and review us on iTunes, that would be much appreciated. So that's it for us for another week. Well, another episode.
Mm-hmm.
So until next time.
Sleep tight. Don't let the warlocks bite. And definitely bring a condom to any under construction houses that you have sex in.
Bye.
Phoebe, Piper, and Prue, they've got evil to slay and some potions to brew. So we'll see where it's at next week with Kendra and